Time moves fast, but sometimes it stands still.
There probably isn't a week it goes by that I don't think about something about Dale.
A man larger than life, feared on the track, respected beyond it.
You always talk about who the greatest NASCAR driver of all time is, and I do think as far as greatest goes, it'll always be Dale.
Now 25 years after Daytona, we honor the man known as the Intimidator.
We'll forever cherish, the number 3 and Dale Earnhardt.
A single crash etched in the memories of racing fans everywhere, and from that moment forward, NASCAR was never the same.
Obviously, from the safety aspect, it took a tragedy for us to learn how to keep the driver safe.
Right now, Earnhardt Forever, a tribute to Dale Earnhardt. For 2 decades, he was the most feared man on the track. A black number 3 in the rearview mirror meant trouble was coming fast. Dale Earnhardt wasn't just a 7-time champion. He was NASCAR's Intimidator, a blue-collar hero who drove with grit, edge, and an unbreakable will to win. Thanks for watching. I'm Logan Campbell.
And I'm Chad Silber. From humble beginnings to Daytona glory, the legend was built on toughness, loyalty, and unforgettable moments. For the next 30 minutes, we celebrate the life, the legacy, and the lasting impact of Dale Earnhardt.
This is undoubtedly one of the toughest announcements that I've ever personally had to make. But after the accident and turn forward at the end of the Daytona 500, we've lost Dale Earnhardt.
NASCAR stood still on February 18, 2001. Dale Earnhardt was killed in a crash on the final lap of the Daytona 500. While battling for position, his car collided with another and then slammed into a wall. Earnhardt was taken to the hospital, but was later pronounced dead from head injuries at age 49.
We've lost one of the greatest there's ever been. In fact, I feel that he's the greatest stock car driver that there's ever been. And he has done so much for our sport and has taken it to so many different levels over the years. And now we don't have that. And, it's like losing a member of your own family.
Dale's changed over the years and kind of felt the same way about myself, and just that. I don't know how else to put it. I lost my hero today.
It's hard to comprehend. The statistic sheets for Dale Earnhardt are now permanent, but it's real easy to understand that Dale Earnhardt will be a part of this sport for many generations to come.
No doubt he was one of the most feared drivers on the track. Dale Earnhardt actually started his career right here in North Carolina.
Oh yeah, the need for speed was in his blood. His father ruled the short track, teaching Earnhardt everything he knew. WFMY News 2's Bryce Parker looks back at his legacy.
Dale Earnhardt Sr. wasn't just a sports icon, but he was North Carolina's very own. Nearly a quarter century after his death, his life and legacy continues to live on both in sports and his community. From the Charlotte suburb of Kannapolis, North Carolina, Dale Earnhardt Sr. was born into racing. His father, Ralph, was a short track racing legend in North Carolina, which inspired Dale Sr. to drop out of school and pursue his own career in racing. Dale would make his professional debut in the Winston Cup Series in 1975. In his 27-year career, he would go on to win several awards, including his 1979 Winston Cup Rookie of the Year. From his first win at the 1975 World 600 in Charlotte to his last win at the 2000 Winston Cup 500 in Talladega, Earnhardt would capture 76 wins, 428 top 10s, and 22 poles in the Cup Series alone. He also would finish the season at first place 7 times. He was a Hall of Famer.
What a program for that program Chevy.
An icon.
He's got the autographs right at the end.
And a dad who even inspired his son Dale Earnhardt Jr. to become a professional driver and Hall of Famer of his own. Dale's famous number 3 will be remembered not only in the world of NASCAR, but in all of sports. And nearly a quarter century after his tragic crash at Daytona, the legacy of the Intimidator still lives on. In 2021, Dale Sr. and Dale Jr. became only the 6th father-son duo to be inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
Bryce, thanks so much. Earnhardt's impact on the sport and his importance to racing was front and center in 2010. The NASCAR Hall of Fame inducted their inaugural class in Charlotte. It was made up of 5 legends: Earnhardt, Richard Petty, Junior Johnson, Bill France Sr., and Bill France Jr.
During his career, Dale Earnhardt and Childress developed a unique relationship. Not only were the two business partners, but also close friends. Together at RCR, they won 6 NASCAR Winston Cup championships in 62 races, transforming RCR into a premier team. Their close bond, built on trust and mutual ambition, survived Earnhardt's death in the 2001 Daytona 500.
25 years is coming up at Daytona this year, and Lord, it don't seem like it. It seems like yesterday when that accident happened, and it's just it was tough. And there's race fans today that'll come to and say, I hadn't been, you know, they're still a Dale Earnhardt fan. They'll say, come to their museum here and welcome, and they'll say, I hadn't been back to a race since we lost Dale.
No doubt about it. You know, he is one of the most prolific racers ever in NASCAR history. At what point in Dale's career did you know that the number 3 was going to have the legacy that it had?
Well, I used to drive the number 3, and I never dreamed it having that legacy that it's got. But I didn't do it justice. But you know, I don't never look back in today, knowing what was accomplished with Dale. And what he did. And
was it hard for you to give up your seat to Dale?
It was. I could see the future coming. All the money people started coming in. I was an independent, and I knew that if I could run the top 10, top 5 occasionally, top 10. And I kept dropping back, and I wasn't happy racing. And I knew I had to do something different. And that's when we made the decision to get out of the car and put Dale in the car.
And you actually told him after 1 year, leave us and we'll bring you back when we can be more competitive. When you were making moves to get him back, do you remember what those conversations were like?
Well, we were hunting buddies down in South Carolina, and he ran those first 10 races for me, and then we'd hunting down in South Carolina. We knew there was something special, but we didn't know how special it really was. And I think it boiled down to a friendship and respect.
Shortly after you decided to pull the 3 and keep it away for a little bit, what went behind that decision?
Well, I just didn't feel it was right. 2 days after we lost Dale, I told Bobby Hutchins to call Daytona. Thought about it and thought about a hunting trip we were on. And that's the reason that I decided to go forward. Thinking about that and the commitment we made to each other, Dale and I. And I told Bobby Hutchins, I said, call NASCAR, we're going to paint the car white. Call them and see what the lowest number is. It happened to be number 29. I said, have Kevin Harvick, I'll be there tonight at 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. And we're going to talk about going to Rockingham.
How often do you think about Dale?
There probably isn't a week it goes by that I don't think about something about Dale or something about the things that went on. He was a dear friend.
To learn more about the history of Earnhardt and Childress racing, you can make the trip down to Welcome, North Carolina, and the RCR Museum. The museum is in the same building where the original RCR shop used to be. Fans have a chance to see the largest collection of Earnhardt's famous number 3 Chevys, including his Daytona winning and Brickyard 400 winning cars. Earnhardt's hometown of Kannapolis honored him with the Dale Earnhardt Tribute Plaza. Fans can see a 9-foot, 900-pound bronze statue honoring the town's favorite son. Topping it off, the walk around the plaza is in the shape of a racetrack.
Today's NASCAR Cup Series stars still feel his presence. They speak of Dale Earnhardt not just as a champion, but as a benchmark of toughness, fearlessness, and passion. Though the years have passed, his influence lives on in every corner of the garage.
I mean, it's just so cool that his legacy lives on even to today, however many years later. And I think it just goes to show how big of an impact he had in the sport and how big of a deal he was, not only even outside the sport. We'll forever cherish, the number 3 and Dale Earnhardt.
Understanding and knowing what he did for the sport when he was around. It still carries volume, still carries weight throughout the garage today. And so, yeah, I think it's super important. And then obviously from the safety aspect, it took a tragedy for us to learn how to keep the driver safe. And yeah, so it's just a lot that goes into what he was about as a person, as a racer, and overall human being.
It's neat to see the three still flying around the racetrack with Austin Dillon, of course, and being here and having the number 8 on my race car, which was Ralph's number. So that's really special too, and it's just a neat opportunity to be here racing for Richard.
I wasn't even born yet when he was around, so it is crazy that I can say that, and then he still had such a big impact on me, right? You always talk about like who the greatest NASCAR driver of all time is, and I do think as far as greatest goes, it'll always be Dale, just for the legacy that he left and the impact that he had on everybody.
We also reached out to NASCAR legend Richard Petty. He sent us a statement that reads, "Dale was a racer in every sense of the word. He gave everything he had to this sport, and the changes that came after his passing have saved lives. That's a legacy that matters."
Earnhardt-Childress said it would take someone very special to bring back the 3-car. We'll sit down with the current driver of the historic number 3, Austin Dillon. Earnhardt Forever, a tribute to Dale Earnhardt, continues after the break.
After retiring the 3 2 days after Dale Earnhardt's accident, Earnhardt-Childress said it would take a very special person to bring it back. Well, in 2014, RC did just that for his grandson, Austin Dillon, to continue the legacy. I know you were little, but what do you remember about Dale Sr.?
Intimidator, man. I mean, anytime you turn on a race on a Sunday, I was pretty pumped because I knew that I had a great shot to get pizza that night because Dale was going to win. I mean, Dale won so much, and they were so successful, and just the grit and determination that he showed on and off the track.
How much of an influence did he have, not only on the track, but away from the track for you?
Probably a lot, I mean, my family has, I guess, bred me to be a competitive person, and winning and losing was something that, that I was taught from a young age, So the competitor in me always wants to fight and scrap for any type of competition.
The 3 went away for a little bit after his tragic death, and then it came back. But when we were talking with your grandpa, he said it had to take a very specific person and thing to bring it back, just to inherit what Dale Earnhardt built in that legacy of the car. What did that mean for you to be able to take it over?
Able to talk to the Earnhardt, Dale Jr., and talk to him about running the number 3, and he was cool with it. And that was really special. And I've enjoyed every race that I've been able to run the number 3 on the car, and it's been a blast. I try and bring trophies to the number 3 and the history behind it, and keep those fans engaged and excited about coming to the racetrack.
To continue to build the legacy, what does that mean?
You just want to go out there and do it proud, do the fans proud, and have fun while we're doing it.
For more than 2 decades, Danny Chocolate Myers stood just feet away from Dale Earnhardt, serving as the longtime gas man for the iconic number 3 at RCR. Together, they captured 65 wins in 6 championships, building one of the most successful partnerships in sports history. But their bond went far beyond pit stops and trophies. Myers calls Earnhardt his best friend, his hero, and the man who never gave up on the track or in life. Even 25 years after Earnhardt's passing, Myers says the legacy lives on, not just in the record books, but in the grit, loyalty, and blue-collar spirit that they shared.
They never gave up. They had that attitude of no matter what they were able to get and build, and the success they had didn't change anything at all. When we went to the racetrack, it was for one reason and one reason only, to win the race or get the best finish we possibly could. And I think that one of the things that I'm proud of is I don't think that we ever left a single solitary point at the racetrack. We got all of them we could get. Now, that don't mean that we went and won every time, but it meant that we got every point that we could get. We never gave up. He never gave up. Richard never gave up. And all the guys on that team never gave up. We worked so unbelievably hard for a lot of years to be able to do all the things that we were able to do.
After Earnhardt's death at Daytona, NASCAR launched a sweeping safety revolution, transforming how drivers are protected every time they take the green flag. At the front of that, NASCAR's Research and Development Center in Concord.
If we look back on that time, NASCAR lost 4 drivers in less than a year. and Dale Earnhardt was the last in the Daytona 500 in 2001. But those 4 drivers really created a sea change within our industry. It really motivated the whole industry, not just NASCAR, but the drivers, the teams, all of our partners to really pull together and make it better. So there's really 3 buckets we can talk about for driver crash safety improvements. Safer barrier obviously goes in that, but that larger bucket would be walls in general, tire packs, guardrails, safer barrier. Then you've got driver restraint systems. So the Hans would fit into that category, but it's not by itself. You need a good seatbelt restraint system, a good containment seat, all sorts of other elements make that whole system work together well. And then you've got the vehicle, the car. It's got to protect the driver from intrusion. It's got to protect the driver from acceleration, and it has to protect the driver against fire.
Dale Earnhardt had 76 trips to victory lane during his NASCAR Cup Series career, but one stands out above all the rest. After the break, we'll take you back to 1998 when he won his first Daytona 500. The Daytona 500 is that coveted race that every NASCAR driver wants to win, but for 20 years, the Daytona 500 had denied Dale Earnhardt. There was close calls, crashes, and heartbreak measured in inches. The sport's most feared driver could conquer NASCAR everywhere but there.
Yeah, then came February 15th, 1998. On a tense, thunderous afternoon, the Intimidator refused to be denied, muscling the black number 3 to the front at last. What followed wasn't just a victory, it was redemption that shook the sport. Late WFMY News 2 sports director Mike Hogwood shared this story on the historic moment.
Dale Earnhardt told us before the race to just look in his eyes. This was a day he was going to give everything he had. The Daytona 500 is the one race this 7-time champion has never won. On the track, he put his Chevy on the point. He held it until the first round of pit stops. Jeff Gordon's Rainbow Warriors gave him 4 tires and 22 gallons of fuel in an incredible 17.7 seconds. Gordon led much of the middle stages of the race. Car 24 was in front at the halfway point. Rusty Wallace was running strong in car 2. Then came Earnhardt. Gordon dropped back because of damage to his car. Earnhardt retook command of the race, but Wallace and Jeremy Mayfield in car 12 close behind. There would be one more fuel stop. While crew chiefs plotted strategy, Robert Presley and John Andretti made it all a moot point. This wreck brought out the yellow with 17 laps left, and it sent the leaders to pit road. Earnhardt's crew was ready, 2 tires, and enough gas to make it home. He's out first. All Dale had to do now was hold off the hard-charging Fords of Mayfield and Wallace. His crew could hardly watch. The tension was so thick in the Earnhardt pit, you could cut it with a knife. Dale Earnhardt was not to be denied. Caution comes out on the white flag lap. No one beats Dale Earnhardt to the line. Finally, he's the winner of the Daytona 500.
We've been here a long time trying to win this thing. We've been so close. It's so tough that last few laps. Man, I can't be happy. It's for all of us.
Unbelievable. You know, I'm just proud of this race team. They done a wonderful job.
You're also proud of that driver today, too, huh?
You can't beat him. He's the greatest.
Even the man they call the Intimidator had a tear in his steel blue eyes and the respect and admiration of everyone on pit road.
I tell you, the ovation I got on pit road with all the other teams, that's impressive. That's 20 years of hard work and a lot of friends along the way. It really helped me. I can't thank everybody enough. It feels so great to be in Victory Lane. Richard Childress and all the guys, they're crying and they're carrying on. They're having a great time. This is where it's at. Been here a lot. This is the greatest time I've ever had in Victory Lane right here. This is it. It's a team effort. We won this Daytona 500. 1998 is going to be a championship. We're going to win, win, win. That's the guys working awful hard. I got a great team over there. Got the best.
Earnhardt would go on to win 17 different tracks in his 26 years in the Cup Series. Talladega is at the top with 10 victories. He won 5 times each at Charlotte Motor Speedway and North Wilkesboro. He earned 3 wins each at Daytona and North Carolina Motor Speedway, which, as you know, is now Rockingham Speedway. What a life and what a career.
I mean, seriously, the way that people talk about him, he's very much still so alive and well.
Absolutely. All right, have a good rest of your day.